The Newton Burial Ground in Christchurch is a place of historical significance, not only to Barbados, but to the world. As the burial site of 570 enslaved people, the archaeological findings and evidence of their material culture presented to the Barbados Museum in January of 1998 provided insight into the lives and cultural practices of our ancestors during that period. The burial site is indeed one of Barbados's treasured monuments, where people, their experiences and circumstances are remembered and act as a guiding light for our future. Welcome to Monuments. I'm Rashid Best. Thanks for joining us. On the 3rd of December 2021, Prime Minister Mia Amor-Mottley updated Barbadians on efforts to construct a slave museum and research institute as part of a wider heritage district, a project that has been discussed for some time. The Prime Minister believes that Barbados has a moral obligation to educate the world on the atrocities of the institution of slavery. She also believes that through this exercise, our people can benefit spiritually and economically. The Heritage District planned for Newton Christchurch is but one phase of the Reclaiming Our Atlantic Destiny or ROAD project, piloted by Prime Minister Mottley.
We have a responsibility as a nation to help the world understand how it can recover from that greatest crime against humanity. And we have that responsibility because it was here that the modern institution of racism was perfected in the Americas. It is not something of which we are proud, but it is part of our history. And the lessons we learn as human beings is that even those things that don't make us proud cannot be erased, for they are collectively taken to become the sum total of our DNA and the sum total of who we are. No more so can South Africa erase the chapters of apartheid from the 20th century. It is because of that and because of what we have inherited as a result of that. Because in colonizing this nation, the British wanted to live here as well. And we therefore benefited from institutions being developed, even if the institutions were not available to all at the point of their development. But it is because of all of that that we have a solemn responsibility to ensure that we tell the story such that it never happens again. And let us not say that things don't happen again, because today looks a lot like 100 years ago, regrettably. We equally are the place where the first synagogue in the Americas is located here in this country. The oldest theological seminary in the Caribbean, and certainly one of the oldest in the Americas, is also located here. And we have to start looking around at what we have and seeing it differently and allowing it to heal us, allowing it to empower us, allowing it to be able to earn for us in ways that it has not done before. And this morning, therefore, represents the culmination of that commitment. And Ingrid, I'm so glad that you contextualized it well, because for too long, the archives was just that place that some people went, a handful of people went. And as to whether and what happened to it, many didn't care. And I thank you for preserving over the years those records and all who would have worked with you. I know your predecessor, Christine Matthews, who also, when I served as a previous Minister of Culture, was adamant about its importance and its maintenance. And John, I thank you and the PS also for carrying the early parts and making sure that these things have to be recognized. The bottom line is that this will be a labor of love. But it won't only be financed by the government of Barbados. We wish we could do all on our own. We cannot. But we have the commitment to start and to do enough of it that we believe that other persons of like mind who recognize that this is a global asset and not just a Barbadian asset will also come to the fore. And that's one of the reasons why we've put together the consortium that we have to work alongside Ajay Associates in order to ensure that this project can be completed over the course of the next 3 years or so. We would love to have it completed by 2024, but at the very latest, we are trying for 2025.
But why was this site in Newton Christchurch chosen for the Slave Museum and Research Institute? Deputy Director of the Barbados Museum and Historical Society, Kevin Farmer, and Barbados' Ambassador to CARICOM, David Comichong, reflect on the importance of this site.
That enslaved burial ground, created in 1660 and until the 1834 Emancipation Declaration, was a cemetery for the enslaved who worked on that plantation. The enslaved were displaced at emancipation, and their sites, both villages and burial grounds on this island, underwent a system of erasure. What remained was recovered in the 1970s through the oral testimony of a descendant of those buried there, while speaking to the researchers Jerome Handler and Frederick Lang. That led to the site being excavated, and what was found was, at that time, seminal, and it still remains so. Newton burial ground, as excavated, is the only extant communal enslaved burial ground used by a singular plantation in this hemisphere.
The Newton slave burial ground is a miracle. It is the largest existing slave burial ground in the whole of the Americas. Now, there were literally thousands of slave burial grounds all over the Caribbean and the Americas. Every plantation would have had a ground where they buried slaves. But over the centuries, many of these slave burial grounds were plowed over. They were used for agriculture. Buildings were constructed upon them. So to have a slave burial ground in Barbados that contains the bodies of 570 of our enslaved ancestors, to be spared that fate is almost miraculous. It's almost miraculous that over all of these centuries, these decades, that burial ground at Newton was left untouched. It was not destroyed. So we are very fortunate to have this pristine slave burial ground that has 570 graves.
The rarity of the site's authenticity and integrity is unparalleled. Its significance resides in how it memorializes us, our ancestors in and outside of our island, wherever they are in the diaspora. It allows us a space to pay homage to our ancestors, to acknowledge their sacrifice as part of an indigenous system of forced migration that changed the world, and their enduring legacy for future generations is of critical importance to the continued construction of national identity in this age of republic. The journey here has been assisted by many, many people over the last 40 years. The list is long, but I promise you I will keep mine short. To Mr. Ward and the Ward family for donating the burial ground to the museum in the 1990s. To Sir Trevor Carmichael as president for securing this legacy and ensuring the BMHS would be careful stewards of the property for not only our people, but for the world. Mr. Lombe Montley, as a former council member who recognized the importance and value of the site and helped secure the gift for future generations. The museum's original committee, chaired by Sir Woodville Marshall, who started the process of planning and researching for the development of, at that time, a slavery museum, and the current Enslaved Newton Burial Ground Committee, chaired by Dr. Tara Innes, for continuing the planning and development process for Newton, its associated Museum of Enslavement, and for keeping the faith by working to ensure inclusiveness, education, and community accessibility, which remain at the heart of this project. Finally, to Ms. Alexandra Cummings as director, who is both the bridge to both committees, but also for securing earlier funding through UNESCO for the research and initial conceptualization for the museum, and ensuring that the site was in fact listed on UNESCO's slave route signage process. We thank them for their tireless work and look forward to this bright future as we embark on the road to envisioning a new heritage economy with the collaboration of the PMO Division of Culture, the Archives Department, Ajay and Associates, the Consortium, ISAIO and LMI, and the vision of the Prime Minister in centering our aspirational story from what is a global site of memory, of significance, and of conscience. Thank you.
We continue to recognize and celebrate the important role played by the Barbados Museum and Historical Society in preserving our history and cultural heritage and providing that platform for us to reflect on our past. Similarly, we must celebrate the work of our National Department of Archives. It is there where the second largest volume of transatlantic slave records is found. These records will be digitized and incorporated into the Slave Museum and Research Institute. Chief Archivist Ingrid Thompson leads the discussion and speaks of this effort.
Through these records, we are able to give a clear and accurate historical account of those who came before us, providing a connection for our current and future generations to Barbados' history and the lessons of the past. These records and stories to be told from them form the basis of the several projects which you have been hearing of today. These stories bear so much relevance not only to Barbadians at home and throughout the diaspora, but to so many millions throughout the global community with whom we have so many connections and shared experiences as a result of the many migrations, both forced or voluntary, throughout the world and throughout history. These archives preserves the memory of our country and the journey of our ancestors from their several destinations to and from Barbados. We will digitize these invaluable national assets in an effort to ensure we are able to properly protect nearly 400 years of Barbados' documented history. We know that any loss would have significant local ramifications, and given the critical relevance of Barbados' experience to world history, the effects would also be felt globally. Digitization positions the Archives Department to better serve the needs and demands of its increasingly diverse and digitally oriented clients. Additionally, it sets the foundation for us to introduce a suite of new revenue-generating opportunities for Barbadians to benefit from. As we engage with these records and unearth the many stories in their current format and future state, it is believed that on the heels of republicanism, a new national consciousness will emerge among our people, which can only be done to the benefit of all.
As members of the Road Consortium, LMI Group International, through its chairman and CEO, Mr. Lawrence M. Schindel, and I are very excited to be working both with Ajay Associates and with our colleagues here in Barbados to assist in the digitization, the forensic analysis, and public presentation of the invaluable heritage of Barbados. The design of the memorial, which we've just seen, so moving, so much a call to the possibilities of architecture and design in calling forth the stories of the ancestors, is the first phase of what's envisaged to be a cultural heritage district and one of many manifestations of the Road Project, as the Prime Minister said. This initiative includes a conceptual Barbados district to have a state-of-the-art facility housing a museum, also to be designed by Ajay Associates, and research institute dedicated to telling the story of the global impact of the transatlantic slave trade and forced migration. The facility would include public displays of original manuscripts, ledgers, photographs, and other materials, along with a large climate-controlled open storage section, major event spaces, and the amenities typical of comparable leading cultural institutions worldwide. Beyond its walls are imagined outdoor performance spaces that would highlight both historical and contemporary cultural offerings, from music to dance, digital projection, as the Prime Minister said, film, and other art forms. And together, all of these initiatives would lead to economic development, the creation of expansive job opportunities for Barbadians in sectors ranging from cultural tourism to hospitality to technological innovation. The new facility would also include a genealogical research institute, which brings ample potential for partnerships, bridging the University of the West Indies with peer institutions undertaking related research, particularly in the United States to start, at Harvard, the University of California, Emory, Rice University, and the aforementioned Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, designed by Ajayi Architects. Our colleagues in the consortium are here also from the pioneering technological enterprise, Esayo, represented by its CEO, Raymond St. Martin. Raymond, would you stand? And with his colleague, Aidu Maikori, Esquire. Aidu. They're exploring the ample uses of their proprietary software in protecting Barbados's ownership pertaining to the heritage data and records, while amplifying this information by surfacing and connecting the stories of Barbados's people, culture, places, and significant objects. I'll close by saying that none of this, of course, would be possible without the rich documentary heritage so carefully stewarded by the Archives Department, which is at the center of the vast opportunities to be explored and unearthed and build out of Barbados's archival and heritage economy. And so through the digitization of its collections, strategic research, partnerships, the integration of pioneering technologies, Barbados can position itself as a global leader in technical expertise in the conservation, preservation, academic research, and organization of archival artifacts surrounding the unique socio-historical experience and positioning which we've just seen given life to through the memorial.
So it will help us to do proper honor to our ancestors, to do proper honor to that history, but to also have a world-class heritage asset that will prove to be a magnet for visitors from all over the world who will want to come to Barbados to see this slavery memorial, and who will feel that they're part of it. And you know what I would love to see, Rashid, just like how we have the wall of the Builders of Barbados wall in Golden Square, where people go to find the brick that bears their family name. I would love on those totems, those 570 totems, that we have an inscription of the country from which the particular totem comes, so that a visitor coming will go and search among the 570 totems to find his totem, the totem that has come from his own land, his own country, that he can really identify with. So I think it's a wonderful project, and I am hoping that we are going to start the construction very, very soon.
The erected monument will become a permanent structure and the central figure on the site. Ambassador Commichong shares the confidence of the Barbadian people in the skills of the designer, Sir David Ajayi.
We have decided that we are going to build a slavery memorial on that site. But it's not just going to be a slavery memorial for Barbados. It is going to be a slavery memorial that embraces the entire Pan-African world. And what do I mean by that? Well, we have been fortunate to be able to get Sir David Ajayi, one of the world's greatest architects. He is of Ghanaian British background, and he's married to a Barbadian. And he is, I mean, he's a great architect. He's the architect who designed the African American Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C., and so many other outstanding structures.
This project is really at the heart of why I was inspired to become an architect, that stories and structures and monuments that really define our worlds, which have been devoid of stories of people, of the diaspora of Africa, need in the 21st century to emerge. We need to emerge. And memorials are a profound way of creating a moral compass for future generations to understand who they are. As human beings, we are ritual creatures. We think we're not, but we are ritual creatures, and we need sites to celebrate and commemorate our rituals as human beings. And there is a history throughout the beginnings of humankind, through the cradle of humanity in the Rift Valley, right across the great civilizations of West Africa and the great civilizations of East Africa and the Mediterranean, that speak to this deep need to acknowledge who you are and who you want to say you were to future generations and to the generations that are here. So this project for me really was about honoring the extraordinary moment that has happened, that this site was not plowed, didn't become agricultural because of a phenomena of geography and geology, that this site stayed as a burial ground. And it's a gift to us, and one that I'm so proud that Barbados has been a steward of, looking after this, and now will use this to honor the ancestors that were buried there. There are 570 ancestors that are buried there, and that is the starting point of the project. The project visualizes these ancestors as totems that are no longer invisible, but totems that will become visible, totems that are connected to the cosmos, because we all come from this soup of a universe that we live in.
And he has come up with this brilliant design where we are going to, because there are 570 graves, we are going to construct 570 totems. Now, the totem is going to be the trunk of a tree. And we are going to get these totems from every country from which enslaved Africans were brought to Barbados, and every country to which enslaved Africans were shipped from Barbados. And so Barbadians need to be aware that Barbados was like a center of the slave trade. Because of where Barbados is located, the most easterly of the Caribbean chain of islands, in the age of sailing ships, Barbados was the first port of call. And it was from Barbados that enslaved Africans were then transshipped to other parts of the Caribbean and of the Americas, North America, even to the Spanish Empire. And so we are going to have these totems from all these different countries, all across Africa, countries of the Americas. And he has come up with this very moving and inspiring design for this slavery memorial that will connect the graves of our ancestors through the totems to the heavens, to eternity, to the universe itself. And it is going to be very inspiring, very moving, and it is going to be a Pan-African memorial that will have a little piece of virtually all African countries, black communities.
There are discs of light. If you look at our histories, our ancestors always understood that we connect to the cosmos and we belong to the land. And this monument is about honoring that. The totems connect us to the cosmos and connect us to our desires and futures. And the circle is made from the land. And we searched for the land that connects to the motherland. And Barbados has it in a place that you call Scotland. This beautiful place, this extraordinary laterite red iron oxide earth, which is all over the sort of beginnings, the cradle of where, you know, our humankind has created civilizations and came from. So this earth, we hope, will be used to create a circle of commemoration and a place of ritual that will honor these ancestors, but also become, we believe and hope, a place that the connections to all the different parts of the world that Barbados has, and the archive and lays testimony to that, will also find this space as a space to remember and to ritualize and to create as a time capsule to the ambitions of this new republic.
Upon its completion, there is no doubt that this monument will be a source of education, national healing, and the promotion of heritage tourism to the benefit of all Barbadians. This has been Monuments, where we examined the Newton Slave Memorial. I'm Rashid Best. Thanks for your time.